I'm here at the airport. I'm about to board my flight for San Salvador.
Let them go hang out with illegal immigrants, many of whom are gang members down in El Salvador. Really, truly high-level political malpractice from the Democrats. Now, Democrats, fortunately for Republicans, are willing to Leroy Jenkins pretty much every political fight, just run directly into the heart of danger. So the Democrats have decided they are now going to visit an El Salvadoran prison. And this, of course, leads to the very wide open political argument. You guys won't even stand and clap for the family of Laken Riley at the State of the Union address, but you will fly down to an El Salvadoran prison to meet with illegal immigrant gang members to grant them some sort of American sympathy. What the hell is wrong with you people? Right? You won't get up at the State of the Union and applaud for the family of Jocelyn Nungary, who is a child murdered by illegal immigrants when a national park was named after her. But you will go out of your way to fly all the way down to El Salvador just to do a photo op with people, the vast majority of whom we know are gang members. This is your move? Like, seriously, this is your move? It's so politically incompetent as to boggle the mind. Truly, President Trump has the best of luck in his opponents. It's really amazing. Like, if Democrats really wanted to make this an issue, what they really should do is they should stand outside the Supreme Court and they should say, this president refuses to abide by the orders of the Supreme Court that threatens due process. Okay, it wouldn't be like an amazing political argument, but it's certainly better than flying down to an El Salvadoran prison to hang out with the world's worst criminals on the basis that America somehow owes them more. That's just a political fail on every possible level. So Chris Van Hollen, speaking of political fails, senator from Maryland, here he was getting on a plane going down to El Salvador.
I'm here at the airport. I'm about to board my flight for San Salvador. The goal of this mission is to let the Trump administration, to let the government of El Salvador know that we are going to keep fighting to bring Abrego Garcia home until he returns to his family. I hope to meet with representatives of the government. I hope to have the chance to actually see Kilmar and see what his condition is. But we are going to keep fighting because this is a miscarriage of justice. The Supreme Court has ruled 9-0, that he was illegally taken out of the country and put in a prison in El Salvador. And this is about due process. This is about rule of law. What bullies do is they begin by picking on the most vulnerable. But if we get rid of the rule of law, due process in the United States, it's a short road from there to tyranny.
God, they picked the worst friends. It's truly incredible. It's truly incredible. So it's not just that he wants this person to receive due process, which again, that's a fair argument. He's making the argument he wants to bring this guy home. He wants to take this guy, get him out of prison, and bring him back to Maryland. An illegal immigrant who is credibly accused of being a gang member. We need more of that in our country, according to Chris Van Hollen. Again, like they can't stop themselves. They have to go the whole hog. They can't just make the case that the Trump administration is pushing on the bounds of legality in a wide variety of areas. Again, a case that you could at least facially make. But instead, they are pushing on the idea that this person needs to be freed and brought back to the United States where he can live in Maryland. We're going to bring him home. And I'd love to see the same sort of enthusiasm from Chris Van Hollen for, bringing home American citizen Idan Alexander, who's currently sitting in a tunnel thanks to Hamas. He just doesn't have the same enthusiasm for that. He certainly doesn't have the same enthusiasm for victims of illegal immigrant crime in the United States, but he has a lot of sympathy on a personal level for this person, an illegal immigrant who was deported. And again, by the way, this person is not going to end up in the United States. This is a point Stephen Miller, the deputy special advisor to the president, was making the other day, which is that there's no situation in which this person ends up back in the United States permanently. It's not going to happen. But they have to make a hero. The left cannot help it. They must make a hero out of everyone targeted by the right, even if that person is not a good person or a person who should not be in the United States. And it's not just Chris Van Hollen. Democrats are such idiots on this. Man, it's just political malpractice. Axios reported on Tuesday, Representatives Robert Garcia of California and Maxwell Frost of Florida sent a letter to House Oversight Committee Chair James Comer requesting an official congressional delegation to conduct a welfare check of deported El Salvadoran and alleged MS-13 gang member Kilmar Abrego Garcia. This is just ridiculous. I'm sorry, it's ridiculous. I hope that that Comer says yes. I mean, seriously, do it. Let the Democrats go. Let them go hang out with illegal immigrants, many of whom are gang members down in El Salvador, and say that those people deserve more from the United States. Really, truly high-level political malpractice from the Democrats. Again, two things true at once. The legal stance being taken by the Trump administration I think is counterproductive in the end. I think it's going to tick off the courts, and I think it's going to make it harder for them to do the things they need to do. At the same time, the politics of the situation play strongly in favor of Republicans because most Americans are not interested in arguments over whether suspected MS-13 gang members ought to be in the United States. We'll get to more on this in a moment. First, Bitcoin just became of strategic interest to the United States. President Trump says America will be the Bitcoin superpower of the world. We now have a national Bitcoin reserve. Let that sink in. If you're still on the sidelines, it's time to pay attention. I made a video explaining Bitcoin to my audience 4 years ago, and since then, it's only become more relevant. The world's largest Bitcoin event, the Bitcoin Conference in Las Vegas, May 27th, is where all this comes together. Founders, thinkers, investors, even heads of state like President Trump at last year's conference, they will be there. This isn't about hype or meme coins. It's not about crypto casinos. It's about Bitcoin, period. Head to b.tc/conference/2025. Use code BEN for specially discounted tickets. That's b.tc/conference/2025. Use code BEN for discounted tickets. The Bitcoin Conference is the place to network, meet like-minded pro-freedom individuals, learn about the future of money, and have a fun time while you're there with side events and after parties. Plus, this year's conference is officially a part of the America 250 celebration. So head on over to b.tc/conference/2025. Use code BEN for specially discounted tickets. And again, one of the reasons I'm saying that the Trump administration should get out of its own way legally here, they should just bring him back. They should do whatever hearing they have to do, send him out again. The reason I'm saying that is because actual important things are happening on the immigration front. According to the Washington Post, the Trump administration is now using personal data normally protected from dissemination to find illegal immigrants where they work, study, and live, often with the goal of removing them from their housing and the workforce. At the Department of Housing and Urban Development, for example, officials are working on a rule that would ban mixed status households, in which some families have legal status and others don't, from public housing. Affiliates from the U.S. DOJ service are also looking to kick out existing mixed status households, vowing to ensure undocumented immigrants do not benefit from public programs, even if they live with citizens or other eligible family members. The push extends across agencies. Last week, Social Security Administration entered the names and Social Security numbers of more than 6,000, mostly Latino immigrants, into a database it uses to track dead people, effectively slashing their ability to receive benefits or work legally in the United States. In other words, they're looking for fake Social Security numbers so they can bar people from illegally working in the United States. All of this is good and all of this is necessary. DOJ is doing a great job of tracking down the misuse of American resources. And by the way, there are other legal fights that the Trump administration can be taking on that are going to be winners. So, for example, a federal judge on Monday temporarily blocked the Trump administration from revoking Joe Biden's migration program for people from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. A U.S. District Court judge in Boston issued a stay of an executive order saying the early termination without any case-by-case justification of legal status for non-citizens who have complied with DHS programs and entered the country lawfully undermines the rule of law. But that, of course, is ridiculous. Joe Biden unilaterally declared widespread migration, temporary protected status for entire countries. And the Trump administration is reversing that. Somehow Biden can do it with the stroke of a pen, but Trump can't undo it with the stroke of a pen. That is one that should go to the Supreme Court and Trump will win. So there are lots of wins on the table. It just seems to me that fighting the due process considerations for Abrego Garcia should not take precedence over the rest of the Trump agenda on all of this stuff. And again, it does play into a narrative that the left is currently trying to build about the Trump administration, that they are lawless, they're attempting to violate the law. One of those issues is, for example, the Trump administration, President Trump directing the DOJ to look into Chris Krebs, who was the person who oversaw cybersecurity during the 2020 presidential election, an appointee of President Trump. Now, you'll remember just a few days ago, President Trump signed an executive order basically not only revoking his security clearance, but ordering a DOJ review of his activities as a government employee because Krebs said that he lost the election fair and square in 2020. So Jonathan Swan, who is in fact a very good reporter, he asked Caroline Leavitt, doesn't this appear to be an abuse of power? Like, you don't want the DOJ being directed to target President Trump. Why are you using the DOJ to attack President Trump's political opponents?
Last week, President Trump explicitly directed the Justice Department to scrutinize Chris Krebs to see if it can find any evidence of criminal wrongdoing. How is that not an abuse of power to direct the Justice Department to look into an individual, a named individual?
Look, the president signed that executive order. It's the position of the president in this White House that it's well within his authority to do it. Otherwise, he wouldn't have signed it. And he signed it, and that's his policy.
Well, that's all for now, folks. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts down below. Be sure to check out all of the other great content on my channel. I'll see you here next time.